Hello, world. This is Morty, and I'm here with my partner Ant, and this is Seriously Black, a radio show about Harry Potter from our unique perspective. And how you doing today?
What's going on, family?
All right. This is our first episode. Really excited to get this started. So, why don't you tell me about how Harry Potter has fit into we grew up together,
hmm
our community, the cultural impact of the book with you from your lens and stuff like that.
Well, you see, so once you get over the idea that Harry Potter is nerdy and very a kind of a preppy, I would say, point of view. Bring this closer.
Hmm.
Yeah. Once you get past that, and you look at the cultural relevance of what this was. I mean, 20 years ago, you saw people from all walks of life just really gravitating towards something. And we're talking about a book here. I mean, the movies were a big deal, but we're talking about a book. So,
Yeah.
from the book perspective, I mean, I remember, being a kid telling my parents like I got to be the first one with the book. Like by the time the last book comes out, I mean, you were having midnight releases for a book,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about Barnes and Noble parking lots packed. Like,
Hmm.
like it looked like
A parade.
the president was coming to town or something. It's the middle of the night. We're all standing in the parking lot at Barnes and Noble, and there's doctors, lawyers, anybody from any walk of life just in this parking lot for their kids, for themselves. I mean, we've seen nothing like that for a book since. I mean, even if you talk about the popular books nowadays, that they're turning into shows, a lot of them, Hunger Games and Game of Thrones and all of that. Nothing was like that Harry Potter phenomenon where people were just from everywhere, from all different walks of life, were just really, really, really excited for a book.
Yeah, I mean the world building on this show, I mean on this in this book was amazing. You see these diehard fans that still it's 20 years since the release of it that are still locked into it, 20 plus years actually. Just super impressive with how J.K. Rowling really built it, over the course of time and the little nuggets that she sprinkled in. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about the book in chapter one and stuff like that, but something as simple as like mentioning the Illuminator in chapter one,
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
and then literally just leaving that completely to the wayside and
Yeah,
then bringing it back.
yeah,
6 weeks.
yeah,
It's just like those little things is like there's just such a method to the madness with her, and it's extremely impressive how she was able to accomplish that.
she's definitely easily one of my entrepreneurial idols. This lady with a pen amassed a universe worth over $1 billion. I mean, we're talking about
Yeah.
like on the significance of a sports franchise all out of her head, pure imagination. So, as an entrepreneur, as a fan of literary arts and art in general, just her ability to build this world that gravitates with so many people and touches so many people in whatever way, it's just so impressive, and it's something that for a long time in my childhood through my adulthood in my other studies, like I've always appreciated her, just having this level of imagination to flush out this world so well that people would just, it feels very real. It's not,
Mhm.
I was looking at when we were talking about doing this show, we've been talking about this for a while too. um I was looking up like what is, Harry Potter, like is it fantasy, is it what genre does it fall in, and it's really in a class of its own. I came across the term, which I studied a little when I was in college, magical realism, and this is, the literary experts don't necessarily consider Harry Potter magical realism for one reason or another, but there definitely is a very real, poignant effect about the way that she writes about the magic in her story, and
Mhm.
that gives you it makes it possible for so many people to, um like, get in touch with this world and to imagine it, and to
Mhm.
to she almost flushes out your imagination for you.
Mhm. I mean, I think it's extremely impressive how she can, she's world building
Mhm.
from a perspective of like, how do I say this? Like a common tongue, like in a
Yes.
sense of like
Yes.
the everyday man can kind of just gravitate and flow seamlessly within it. Like, you know, the experience of Harry Potter and everything he's going through is so magical, but it's also so everyday, like in regards to
Yes,
like, and I think that's one thing that really appealed to me with it is like I could, in a sense, kind of see like, Harry had been through some stuff.
absolutely. I
It,
mean,
it wasn't a regular degular type. He wasn't a regular degular type of guy.
no, no,
He had been through some serious.
I mean, in the first few chapters of the book, the very first time as a reader you're getting to learn about this world, you really are learning that Harry's got a bad shake at it,
Yeah.
and it's that plays such a big part in the greater story as Harry becomes the protagonist of all these different things. um you are able to keep into perspective what Harry's childhood was like and how much that played into his decisions that he makes, and really the overall story that Rowling is trying to get to her reader is really is that life is about the decisions you make.
Mhm.
And alongside with the world building, which is second to none. I mean, we're talking about top notch world building, but the themes and the tropes that um she's trying to kind of convey to her readership is really about, you know, the decisions that we make are what defines us.
Mhm.
That would be the, if I were to summarize someone is supposed to take from this story as a whole, is it's really that.
Mhm. Yeah. I got into Harry Potter a little bit late myself too. I would say I probably got into it kind of around like the middle schoolish time.
Hmm.
And around the time I also moved to Montclair. I grew up in a different area, a little bit more rough. I moved to
Hmm.
Montclair. Now you got to read your way, you got the
Yeah,
books, all that type of stuff.
all the reading incentives
Exactly,
definitely,
exactly. All the perks that will
which
pull you into it.
that was a big deal too
Yeah.
when because the hype train starts and then you got the hype train going with the, I'm very cautious even to this day of anything that a bunch of people are into. I was late to
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. I was
Yeah.
probably a half step late to Harry Potter, but like
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
things that are good, once you get into them, they like pull you in, and then you
Yeah.
just consume it at such a
Mhm.
high rate. I watched the first season of Game of Thrones one week when I was sick. This
Mhm.
is like I'm out of college. I'm
Mhm.
working. People at my job at the time had asked me if I was into it, and I was like, I have no idea what that is.
Mhm.
And I just so happened to watch it one week when I was sick, and I watched everything. In that week, I watched everything. I think it was like up to season 4 that I hadn't seen anything. I watched all the way up to season 4. Then I went and read all the books
Mhm.
up until, of course, what he's written. We're
Yeah.
still waiting.
And waiting.
25 going on 30 years later. So but when you find that thing and you find something of a certain quality, you start to consume it. Harry Potter was definitely, that was probably the first thing for me
Yeah.
where it was like, all right, I heard people talk about this. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I was in 4th grade.
Yeah.
I heard people talk about this, don't know what it is.
Let's give it a
Then
shot.
I had to do a book report for school,
Mhm.
and do they even still do book reports anymore? But
I don't think so.
I had to do a book
Do they
report.
even read like
Yeah,
that now?
exactly. It's
I
like
think
Chat
everything's
GBT
audiobook.
this, audiobook that. But I had to do a book report, and I was like, all right, let me. I think I picked up the second book
Mhm.
first, which was
No.
crazy,
Yeah.
and then realizing like there was so much that I was missing. I had to go back and read
Mhm.
the first one, and then once you start, it's like, all right, let's just
Yeah.
go through
Let's
everything
go.
up until midnight releases
Mhm.
at Barnes and Noble, waiting for this book to come out, and like pre-reading chapters. I mean, it's a different world now. Social media is way bigger now than it was then. So like just
Do you think it was, sorry to cut you off. Do you
no,
think it
no.
was more important or more impressive that she was able to build this by word of mouth in a sense of like, because I mean, nowadays you look at social media, like what if Harry Potter came out now with the tools of social media, the ability to advertise, the ability to be able to cut up content and things like that? Do you think that it would be, could it be even bigger? Like, could it have
I
spread faster?
I
Like, what
think
do you think?
I think that you're seeing how, well, first, and I know we're going to get into the book, but first,
Mhm.
the Harry Potter phenomenon really changed the way that major companies operate. I'm gonna give you an example. So Harry Potter had the book success with the 7 books,
Mhm.
and then Warner Brothers made it into a major a major movie franchise.
Mhm.
Um, and not only did it make it into a major movie franchise, well, it made it into a major movie franchise. The franchise was so successful that even though they tell us, oh, the 7th book was too long, we had to make it 2 movies. Warner Brothers was really trying to figure out how to extend that money.
Yeah, of course.
So they made a second movie for the final installation of the story, and then went on to proceed to try and find another way to capture that same magic with and you'll remember around the time of the Harry Potter, you started seeing a lot of source material items
Mhm.
becoming like series. You see
Yeah.
Twilight
Mhm.
and you can go down the list.
Yeah.
It became a business model.
Mhm.
And so when you ask me the question, do I think had Harry Potter come out today, if it would have been different or if they would have drove it differently or would have blown up faster, I think without question, only because it was such a moneymaker in it in the form that we got it. I mean, even
Mhm.
now, HBO is going back to redo the same
Yeah.
thing that was done 20 years ago
Mhm.
because they realize how much of a fan base this has and how much money it can drive. So given the success of what we saw in the formats in which we saw it, for sure, it would have easily been something that we would have been saturated with it
Yeah.
because it's just such a powerful profit tool.
If we could go back in time, because I actually was just thinking about this the other day. Let's say we go back. The first movie came out what, 20 years ago?
Somewhere
So,
around there.
okay,
We
so
talking decades.
yeah,
I mean,
so
we
yeah. So going back in time, if we can go back in time, do you think they did it wrong? In the sense of like, if they can go back in time, would they have done the TV show first and then the movies? Or like what do you think is the best way to flesh this out? Is it like for the book perspective, is it a 20 episode season? Is that the best way
as a book
to
reader,
appreciate the content?
well,
Or
there's two things. As a book reader, right? You could never, and I remember being a young kid and I come from a family of readers.
mhm,
Like middle of the afternoon, my mom, my uncle, my family, they would just be reading books.
mhm,
So and I was never really a super book person in terms of I just want to sit down in my room and read until I got like Harry Potter and I was like I would find myself sitting down just reading a book. You could never get out of a movie with what a book gives you.
mhm,
You get closer with the show, and I think that's one of the reasons
yeah,
why they're going back to try and do the show
mhm,
because as a book reader, you and I think a lot of book readers would agree with me on this, if you read the books and you're really into the lore, into
mhm,
the inner workings
yeah,
of the literature,
yeah.
the movies do
You're never
nothing.
gonna get to those layers.
The movies do nothing in comparison
Yeah,
to what you get out of the book.
yeah,
So the exciting thing about a show and the exciting things about shows is that it gives you more time to flush out certain plot points and certain things and it gives you the ability to really get out of the book onto the screen the things that are important to the people who have read the books and ultimately the people who read the books are the core of the any uh, fandom or lore or anything that a show is going to have is that has a source material to it. It's the folks who have read the source material who are going to really drive it. If they don't feel that the show is authentic to the source material, there's going to be a problem. And you see that nowadays because as a business model, so many production companies, HBO, Amazon, they're trying to capture the sentiment of uh, a source material
mhm,
product and bring it onto the screen. You see the Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, not to bang
mhm.
on Jeff Bezos and the boys over there, but everybody's kind of throwing this spaghetti at the wall. Like,
Yeah,
hey, just give me some source material, or
yeah.
something. Let's just see
Let's see if
see
it
if it
works.
works with
Yeah,
billions of dollars. No
mhm,
problem. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? You,
mhm,
you you see that a lot as a business model now, and you also see it failing a
mhm,
lot as well, and that's because they aren't being anytime these shows fails mostly because they are not true to what that um what that source material fan base is really looking for.
mhm, mhm. What is your favorite book and why?
Now that's a tough one. I'm gonna tell you why it's a tough one. I can vividly remember um very specific times, even I mean, we're talking years later, of where I was reading a particular part of the book,
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing, where I was. Like, I remember being, I was on a family vacation. We were in a family reunion when the sixth book was out,
Okay.
and I remember being like in the airport reading, off the walking out of the airport, my head in a book, walking to the shuttle from the airport to the rental car station, and I seen another lady also reading the book, and like both of our heads are in the book. I remember when we being in college, the seventh book came out like my freshman year in college. I remember being in my dorm room from football camp to like getting to my dorm room, shutting the door, and like reading this book. So it's hard to say which book is my favorite. I definitely have some favorite moments in every book.
Mm-hmm. Of
I
course.
definitely have like, and maybe we'll do a special
Yeah.
episode
Yeah.
for like our
Mm-hmm.
great Harry Potter greatest hits. But
Yeah.
I definitely have some moments. So I think it's too hard to say which book is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably, if you held my feet to the fire, I would probably say the moments in the book that I enjoy rereading because I've reread
Mm-hmm.
since the first time. Um, hmm, I really what's crazy too. I just want to say this as we dive into analyzing and breaking down this story. I was never big into the big plot points of
Mm-hmm.
Harry and his quest for all these different things that were
Mm-hmm.
so important to the magical world. The
Mm-hmm.
things that I enjoyed most about reading Harry Potter were the times when he was just like in school doing normal
Being a
stuff.
person.
Exactly. Just living
Yeah.
because
Every
really
day. Every day, man. That's what we talk
it's an
about.
underdog story.
Yeah.
When you know where Harry came from and then you
Yeah.
get to, you know, conceptualize him just being a normal person in a
Yeah.
normal school. He's got problems with girls or
Yeah.
he's beefing with one of his boys. Those were the things that were always very interesting to me to read as a someone who enjoyed the story. The bigger plot points, of course, are important and they drive those moments. But that was like for me, like when they're in the fifth year when they're doing the Defense Against the Dark Arts
Mm-hmm.
League. I love those moments because it's very rebellious. It's built in resistance, which is a pastime for growing up.
Yeah.
But it also had a deeper point to it about and how it related to the rest of the book. And Rowling does a great job tying that in and how important those moments are, as she does with other things, where
Mm-hmm.
she does great work taking something, laying it as a breadcrumb very early, and
Mm-hmm.
then having it relate back and connect later on in the show. And it gives you a moment of excuse me show in the book. It gives you a
Mm-hmm.
moment of enlightenment, which is these are the things that you can't get in a movie
Yeah.
or even sometimes a show.
Yeah.
Just the level of groundwork that is laid on this foundation
Mm-hmm.
for her to tell this story.
Mm-hmm. You dodged the answer, but I'll let you get away with it.
It's hard.
Because I'm like that too.
Episode one, you
I'm
giving
not.
you giving tough you
Yeah,
giving
it
tough
can't. Yeah,
questions.
yeah. I
For
mean,
this, I mean, for
yeah,
some things, yeah,
yeah,
I could give you an answer. For
yeah,
this,
yeah.
it's just
I think
maybe
it all depends.
we're talking about
I
10
think
years of
yeah,
reading, man.
yeah, yeah. I think it all depends on what time of my life you ask me that question. And I think that's what makes it so special. Looking back at it, like if you had asked me that 15 years ago, I might have said another book. Certain
Hmm.
books, I'd say, right now there's certain books that really do pop out to me in regards to just the texture of how she was writing and how pure I think it was to the moment, kind of like you said in the Order of Phoenix. So like, this is what it feels like to be 15 years old.
Hmm.
Like this is it. Like
Yeah.
I thought there were certain books that she wrote that was so like close, like so razor
Hmm.
sharp to the time period of feeling like that age. And I think for me, like one thing that really always stood out to me is that it was you got to think about it with Harry Potter, right? He's an everyday man
Hmm.
in a unique situation. He's a goes far.
Well, what makes him an
But
everyday man is his
his
upbringing.
upbringing,
Exactly,
right?
because he's
But
not really the everyday.
he's
He's
not.
everything but
But the twist, the
yeah.
turn is what separates him from everybody else in that
Mhm.
world. But I
Mhm.
think also something that's kind of interesting is also that like he goes to a boarding school,
Yeah.
and I thought that was very unique. I mean, it's not really the standard from where we're from. I
Of
think there's
course.
more of a thing,
Of
you know.
course. It's
And
definitely I
so
mean, the boarding school stuff is definitely outside of the
the culture
community and the culture
that we're
that
from,
we were from.
you
But
know.
we get I mean, we get it.
Yeah,
We were not we're not like
yeah,
unaware
yeah,
of
yeah.
these
Definitely.
different worlds, but we definitely I mean,
Yeah,
I'm never going to a boarding school growing up. I don't even want
yeah,
to go to a boarding school.
yeah.
But it was cool to like read Harry's story
Hmm.
and get it. It's like, oh, is
Hmm.
they're kind of living a different life, but they're still
Yeah,
kids. They're
yeah.
still I mean, and we'll definitely get to this
Mhm.
as we go on this journey, but it starts out as a children's book, but by the time you get to those later books, boy, it's very dark. It's very much in an adult series.
Mhm.
Is what uh, became very real to me as I was getting older, and I'm walking around with this thick book,
Mm.
and I'm seeing other people walk around with this thick book, and I'm realizing, we've all been on this journey for
Quite some time.
a decade now. So if you
Yeah.
were, I think I might have, what was I, fourth grade? How old are you in the fourth grade? 8, 9 years
Yeah.
old. 10 years later, you're 18.
Yeah.
You're going into adulthood
Yeah.
as this story is finishing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, and she does a great job of transitioning. It's not
Mhm.
as playful, and there's definitely some dark elements
Some tone.
in the later book. So,
Mhm.
and that's it. Again, just one of the many things I appreciate as I go
Mhm.
back and look at
Mhm.
having read it multiple times and
Mhm.
since then.
Yeah. She lets the books mature, you mature, and it doesn't
Yeah,
seem forced. It's just natural, just progression of
yeah.
how life goes as you do get
It's
older.
making me it's making me sad because there's just not that much work like that anymore. A lot of the
No.
work now is very like, all right, package it, wrap it, get it out,
Yeah.
feed it to them.
One and done.
Exactly.
Like,
And it's so I mean, there's a couple, hopefully we have some success here. We get into some other things. A couple other things that
mhm.
are have the chance, but I mean, very, very little has captured the world in the way from a literary sense and from a media sense, the way
Mhm.
Harry Potter has for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, so we'll dance a little bit with chapter one. So obviously, this is the first chapter of the book. We get introduced to Vernon and Petunia. You
Yep.
know, obviously, Petunia, um, thin, blonde haired lady, very unique character. I
Mhm.
think, and of course, we'll do. I think down the line we'll start doing episodes just based on in-depth character analysis.
Yeah.
So we won't get super super deep, but I think she is one of the most peculiar characters. Was one of the most unique characters in the book is because I think with her, the thing that stands out to me just a little bit about her and how she describes her and how she progresses as a character in the books is she strives so much for normalcy. Like she
Mhm.
wants to be very like rigid and to the
Mhm.
book, but there's this slight bit of like curiosity that's so deeply embedded within her that she's like, um, in my opinion, like holding down. She's suppressing because she couldn't get what she wanted because she didn't
Ex
go to Hogwarts. And so you're
ex
constantly seeing her chase that I call it the sensational whiff of
Mhm.
of what there's another world that she's
She
aware
knows.
she
Yeah.
knows is there.
Yeah.
The allure of the whiff of it is like pulling her in, but she also knows that she can't fully have it.
I I I Petunia's an onion. So
Mhm.
I have these terms that hopefully as we go, she's an onion. Similar to one of the great story arcs of modern times is Jamie Lannister.
Mhm.
She has so much to her that isn't present upon your introduction to her.
Mhm.
But as this story goes, and this is one of the things about Rowling's work in this particular case, is she lays these little nuggets, these little beads everywhere. They're all
Mhm.
over the place. But you're not. It's not. It's not going to pay off for 5 books, 6 books,
Yeah.
and it's crazy because it's so well done that it really, like, even to this day, when I read something or I watch something, or I can see most turns and most things coming because of how many times as a kid I read through the Harry Potter universe and saw how these things that were laid, this groundwork that was laid 40 chapters in advance,
Yeah.
how it played out. So I can watch things and see, okay, they're doing that for a reason. The author's telling us that for a reason, and it's going to pay off somewhere down the line. And so, especially as it relates to Petunia, her, and this is very true in real life too, which is another credit to the author, that when people are rejected from a world, they tend to turn around and go full head on into the total
Opposite.
opposite.
Mhm.
And that's something that you see in Petunia, where the book introduces her as this very rigid uh woman, but it also gives her uh Rowling also wants us to know that she's um loyal to her family,
Yeah.
and that her family is important to her. She bigs up Dudley, obviously her son, and
Mhm.
they probably spoiled. I mean, I don't think anyone
Yeah.
who reads it is supposed to understand that they don't spoil him,
Yeah.
but that Petunia has really rejected. In the first chapter, you learn that Petunia is really rejecting her sister's. I think they call it um,
Abnormal.
abnormality or something like that. Some
Yeah.
some 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 contextual
Yeah.
negative term. She's rejecting that in favor of her husband's uh
Normalcy.
normalcy and excuse me, rigid.
Rigidity.
Yes, I don't know why I couldn't say that,
Yeah.
but anyway, the the she's rejecting her sister, um, who has some abnormality, or what they represent to be abnormality, um, in favor of being the perfect wife for her husband and the perfect mother for her son, and so on and so forth. Harry just so happens to be this inconvenience that exists for them, and they're petrified that anyone would find out. And Petunia goes right along, and she's okay with with essentially neglecting Harry, which but you learn about the deeper meanings and the deeper layers. As I said, she's an onion.
Mhm.
Once you peel back those layers, you learn about so much of why that is and how it became so, and so much. Because it's very easy to not like petunias to start out.
Yeah.
And I think Rowling's objective is to kind of make it that
Yeah.
way. Even McGonagall, who's
Mhm.
sitting on the brick
Yeah.
fence
Mhm.
all day,
Observing.
observing, who doesn't really know them from Adam,
Yeah.
is observant enough in the form of a cat to really say, "You're going to leave Harry with these
Yeah.
folks?" Like,
Even she could put it together in a
e-
matter of
e-
6 hours.
exactly. So I think Rowling is meant for us to be introduced to the Dursleys and Petunia as people that we don't necessarily like so much.
Do you know? Looking at all of it, should we have been more empathetic towards Petunia?
I think by the
Did
end
she
of,
get a raw deal?
I don't want to say she got a raw deal. Harry got a raw deal,
Yeah.
because so much of what Harry experienced was totally outside his control.
Mhm.
Petunia, I wouldn't say got a raw deal. I would say Petunia is more of a, she like I said before, she went full force into this other world because she was rejected by the world that she wanted, and or that she maybe was curious about. And so that was a choice though. That
Mhm.
wasn't like, she wasn't forced to do that. She wasn't forced to like have Harry sleeping under the steps or to mistreat him, and especially as it relates to how she treated her own son, especially we gotta remember of the Dursleys, Petunia's the only one who really knows the full
Mhm.
depths of why Harry's really there and what the
Mhm.
significance of him being there
What it means.
means without going too deep into the story just yet. So she again the theme of this whole story is we are the decisions that we make. So I
Mhm.
can't give to Petunia a pass on how she acted or acts, but I can understand and recognize that everything wasn't as it seemed, and that she
Mhm.
did definitely do some things that we wouldn't have accredited her for upon our initial introduction to her.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. So you have Vernon. Um, we're introduced to him as well in the first chapter. Very, she makes it very clear that he's a very rigid, plain
Definitely,
man. You
definitely.
know, literally to the point in which I think there was a part of the first chapter in which she said it was so bad with him that he had turned his desk away from the window.
Yeah, he works at
It's a drill.
he works at Grunnings, and his desk has there's a window, but he sits with his
faces
back to the
the
window.
faces the
Yeah,
wall.
she
to,
definitely
to
Rowling's
not
definitely letting us know
this
that
is a master
these
class
some
of writing right here.
these are some straight edge folk. These Dursleys, boy, she's letting us know from the and Vernon is about his money.
Mhm.
Is a
He
part
about the
in
Quan
yeah
as
in the first chapter. uh Dudley is complaining about not getting enough presents, and he's
Mhm.
like he's in the kitchen about to it's about to go down. Like,
Yeah.
hold
Uh-huh.
up, y'all
Mhm.
too short. Like,
Yeah.
and Petunia's scared, and Harry's like, I got to scarf down this bacon before he
Goes
mess around,
off.
and flip this table over. And Vernon's response is the little tyke wants his money's worth.
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
pride, and it was that
Mhm.
his son would be about his,
Mhm.
and Vernon is very much the same thing, and that's something that's common. His work comes up quite a bit, and I think Rowling wants us to understand what Vernon's value system is.
Mhm. Yeah.
No strange or weird things.
Yeah.
Get to this money.
Mhm.
That's Vernon Durst.
Yeah. Yeah. Um
Which I can't say that I'm too far off of, that mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's just
yeah.
like I can understand Vernon
Yeah.
Dursley. Hey,
I think it's weird because whether people I mean there's lots of him that parts of him that people could possibly dislike about him
oh,
in
he's
regards to the way that he
definitely
treats
dislikable.
in the way he treats Harry. But when we're talking about the core of like being very like straight laced and about the business and
Hmm.
he it seems like whether you like it or not, um, there are some parts of him that, he is a family man.
Yeah.
He's about his family. He's
No.
his direct family,
Yeah.
maybe not Harry, but
I mean,
he's
he rocked for his sister too.
yeah, he's loyal to the soil in regards to like, taking care of his son, taking care of his wife, takes care of the garden. He's very much of a very straight laced guy that's about his money and his people's. I which in all honesty, I think that could to some that's kind of like the American dream
Yeah, I think
in the sense of like I got this, I got my plot of land and got a little coin in my pocket
yeah.
and you know
Vernon is very relatable when it I mean, of course, Harry's the focal point of the story.
mm,
But Vernon, as an adult, especially.
yeah
Now remember, book one, chapter one, this is mostly written for kids, but as an adult, I understand Vernon Durst.
yeah
I get it.
maybe back then he
Hey,
would have been just a stick in the mud
yeah.
square,
I mean,
but
he's definitely a square, but
he is.
he letting his lady know, hey, listen, you rocking with me, we about to get to this money. Your sister, I don't know what she got going on,
But
but
that money
listen,
funny.
but listen, leave all that over there. We're gonna be over here. We're gonna get to this money. We're gonna get a nice yard. We're gonna go out and live the
Mhm,
life. And
mhm,
your little weird nephew, yo. I can listen. I think I understand where Vernon's coming from.
yeah yeah
Now, do I think he was particularly nice to Harry? No.
no
I don't think at any point does he ever show any real empathy um for Harry's situation. And I would think that I would describe Vernon and Petunia's marriage to be pretty close enough that she would have explained something to him. So
Mhm.
I don't look at Vernon. I look at Vernon as um, I understand him,
Mhm.
but I don't necessarily agree with all that he's got going on.
But I think that was a lure to Petunia, is that he was so straight laced, and
Exactly.
and the fact that he was not even thinking about anything outside the box, is
Mhm.
that what appealed to her the most? So why even
Definitely.
expose him to the potential of there being more? His mind couldn't even fathom that. I think that, I know it sounds kind of odd, but you got a character like Vernon. I think, is that the person? Like, is he the controllable piece that we see in today's monoculture of man, in the sense of like, he's so like to the book? Do we want people to be like that? So kind of like robotic, a person doesn't
Um,
question the status quo.
I
Does
think
Vernon represent that?
I think the powers that be or the dominant society would want a bunch of
Yeah.
Dursleys. I mean, even like I remember rereading the because I almost never start at the beginning.
Mhm.
I might start like somewhere in the middle and read through and then wrap around and read again. But I remember one time I specifically wanted to start in the beginning when I picked up the books to reread. And I remember thinking, because I was an adult by this time, I remember thinking that I wonder why Rowling made Vernon a drill salesman, because
Mhm.
he's a perfect bureaucrat. It would have been
Yeah, it
perfect
would.
for him to be
Yeah,
like in the
councilman.
well, just in the government
Civil
service of
service. Yeah,
some kind,
yeah.
um, because and that would have just like ratcheted up the fear for him of the
Mhm.
abnormality of
Yeah,
Harry.
yeah.
But I remember thinking that like in a reread where I was just like, Vernon should have been like MI6 or something like that, which would have just made perfect sense. Like not MI6, because that's like a more
Right.
creative branch of the of the
Mhm.
of the military intelligence. He should have been like MI3 or whatever. I don't know what it would
Yeah,
translate to, but he should have just been something that was like, this
yeah,
guy sits at a desk all day, he doesn't
yeah.
look out the window, and he gets these
Like
papers through
like a
better.
tax evasion
Exactly.
specialist,
Exactly.
or
Like
something like
he
that.
just gets this paperwork through. He's the best in the business. If you
Mhm.
got paperwork anywhere in Britain,
He got
Vernon
it.
Dursley is the guy to
He's a
call.
knock it down guy.
Exactly. That's what you get from Vernon Dursley. And I think that again, while I understand like he's, I'm about my money,
Mhm.
he's about his family. He don't want nothing to come in between that. And I can understand that. I do think that, you know, that there's a danger to that. And danger is represented by Vernon Dursley. It's like, you miss out on some level of compassion and some level of, hey, there's another soul that's living in your house that is not having this shared community experience that the rest of your family is having. And you're a direct you're a direct reason for that being. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Of course, there's a story. There's got to be conflict, and I get all of that. But I'm just saying, as a man, my critique of Vernon is, I get everything you're saying, except the fact that in your household there is someone who
Suffering.
is exactly, and
Mhm.
that's also the measure of a man too. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Talk about just a whole nother thread, but
Mhm.
empire building, something
Mhm.
that's a lost art on the men of our generation, partially because of the idea of bureaucracy and hey, you should do this, and you miss out on some of these things that slip through the cracks. And for Vernon, Harry was definitely something that slipped through the cracks. And I mean, as much as Vernon didn't want it to,
Mhm.
it Harry's experience defined his experience with his family, because ultimately they have to get up out
Mhm.
of there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
maybe if he did a little bit more or recognize
Pouring
like
into.
this isn't the ideal situation, but it is my situation. Let me do this or do
Mhm.
that or do something different. I think
Mhm.
I think that was a part that's lost. I think
Mhm.
it's intentionally lost. I think Rowling's intending for us
Mhm.
intending for us to look at Vernon as a bureaucrat and not very nice to Harry.
Yeah. Yeah, super excited to do the deep dives on Vernon and Petunia down the line for sure. Um we also got introduced to Albus Dumbledore.
Mhm.
Um, in the first scene, we got a taste of apparition
Mhm.
as he disappeared out of thin air, as she
Mhm.
said, but not didn't give it a defined term, which I
Mhm.
thought was pretty interesting. And so you'll hear down the line about apparition and how it impacts that world and things like that, which is pretty cool. Um, that she introduced that also before the port key, which is cool. Like,
Mhm.
okay, cool. She introduced the accelerated version, but that was all right. We mentioned the Illuminator,
Mhm.
as well. So we got a taste of that.
You get a
And
little
it's
sprinkle of
sprinkle,
the
just a
magic.
dash, just
She's
a
let you know.
dash.
That's why this is why magical realism is what occurred to me, because that's one of the things about magical realism is that the magic is represented as a very commonplace but unexplainable thing. And although later on Roland gets very deep into explaining how and why the magic of her world works, the initial introduction is very, oh, and this happened, and that happened, and this
Mhm.
happened, and that happened, and very little to no explanation. It's just an introduction. Like there's some other stuff going on here.
Yeah, yeah. I think when was interesting to me when I was reading that chapter is, and that sounds crazy because Albus is such a huge driving force in the books. He kind of arrived later in the first chapter,
Hmm.
and while he was leading clearly, he wasn't dominating every single thing. He allowed space, I think, for McGonagall to ask questions, in a sense.
These are. It's funny you say that because these are characteristics of Albus Dumbledore,
Yeah,
as we know him.
yes.
Is he's not.
He's
He's
the
never this heavy handed kind of leader. He kind of he the leadership comes to him almost naturally.
mhm,
So you definitely get the impression that McGonagall, and you don't know how important McGonagall is
yeah,
just yet, but you definitely get the impression, and she says it in the book that McGonagall is waiting all day for Albus to show
yeah.
up.
Mhm,
But then you get Albus. Albus is just like he just comes on even off the page. It's like this dude got swag. We know
yeah.
he's pop up, the Illuminator. Boop boop boop
Yeah.
boop. What's going on?
He makes it happen.
You've been here all day. You should have been out celebrating.
Exactly.
I just came here to
Just to
drop.
say that.
I came here to drop old Mary. That's
You
it.
know why I'm here.
You've been waiting here for me all day. What you doing?
Mhm.
You definitely get you definitely can, the swag rolls off the page when it comes to Albus Dumbledore. And I'm not necessarily saying that because we know what he is and what it becomes. I'm just saying, like, again, as I did some rereading today, I'm like, yeah, he that guy.
Yeah.
He that guy. He pulled up, he turned the lights off.
Yeah.
McGonagall had to check in.
Mhm.
We know what time she knew what
Yeah.
time it was. Hey, Albus, what's going on?
Yeah.
I can't believe nothing nobody's saying until I hear it from you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay, then she was more into what was
Mhm.
going on. So definitely Albus gets the swag of the week
Yeah.
award because
Definitely.
he pulls up, he lays it down, he does what he got to do. He sets
Grand
the
opening,
tone.
grand
Exactly,
closing.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm here for 5 minutes. Y'all just paid for the walkthrough. Y'all didn't pay for the whole. You didn't pay for a performance. I just came in for the walkthrough.
Mhm. You know, I think when you really start to dig deeper into that back into the chapter with the conversation between McGonagall and Dumbledore, to me, that's the first time you start to see the world within the world in
Yeah.
regards to McGonagall's asking these questions that one could perceive as very like surface level, but
Hmm.
also just the texture of how she's asking them is very deep.
Hmm.
There's something more to Harry Potter. There's something more to these people. There's something more to um, the decision on why we're choosing these people. She understands the gravity of the situation, and not to
Hmm.
say that Albus doesn't. I think he
No,
does,
we know. We know. I mean, by the end, we know
but
he does.
but I think that was a situation in which Albus felt like he didn't have options. So it kind of just was like, this is the hand we had to play,
Yeah.
you know, and he took it for what it was, and kind of hoped it kind of all fell into place in a sense, like is what it seemed like.
I mean, we're gonna have some over the course of this breakdown, not just today, but going forward. We're gonna have some excellent quotes from the book that I remember like
Mhm.
the back of my hand because I've read it so many times, and there's so much context to it once you've when you've reread this story so many times. But like, I think as he talks about it later on, way later in the series, I think Dumbledore admits to a lot of that stuff. Like he's
Mhm.
kind of as great as he's perceived by so many, that a lot of times he's just busting moves and trying to piece it all together and
Yeah.
make it happen. And it works out for him because of his brilliance, because he is in fact a genuine article and a very talented wizard, and a very you know, emotionally intelligent wizard. Um, but I think he admits, I think it's to Harry,
Mhm.
that he doesn't say it exactly like this, but he's kind of telling Harry like, I'm doing the best I can
With what I got.
with what I got. I'm trying to make the decisions, and he even levels with Harry and says, being brilliant as I am, I have to accept that responsibility, but also my mistakes tend to be significantly greater than the average man's
Mhm.
mistakes, because I am the one that people are looking to solve the problem. When I make a mistake, it's usually a big mistake.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, which is incredible self-awareness
Mhm.
as a individual, which is something that I always try, like for myself personally, try and keep in mind,
The,
when I'm
the
when
ripple
I'm
effects.
well, just when I'm making a decision that is going to affect other people,
Mhm.
that I have to recognize that my decisions are going to have an effect on other people, and I have to accept the burden of when I'm wrong, what that wrongness means for the other people I'm making a decision
Mhm.
for, or that my decision is going to affect. And I think that's part of manhood. That's a
Yeah.
that's a manhood lesson. Like, hey, you're going to make a decision and it's going to affect other people. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to live with that decision and accept responsibility for that decision.
Mhm. This is an interesting quote from it. And this kind of sums up what we were saying about Albus in regards to the understanding the gravity of the situation, but also I don't want to say making light of it, but just kind of like it was what it was. Um, when talking to McGonagall, he said, when she asked about why are we doing this, why are we leaving here,
Mhm.
he said it's the best place for him. Dumbledore firmly. His aunt and uncle will be able to explain everything to him when he's older.
Mhm.
I've written them a letter. This is the leader of this is the leader of the free world. This is pound for
I-
pound the most
mm,
important person in the world,
yeah.
and you leave him in the hands of these people, and you have decided that this letter is going to explain it. And McGonagall is completely flabbergasted, floored
I
that was supposed him saying I've written them a letter was supposed to put solace on her soul. She's like, "Are
I
you serious?"
I think that um
I've
this
written them a
is
letter.
this is one of those Dumbledore master classes,
Yeah.
which happens many times throughout the series. Dumbledore, you're not supposed to know this. You don't know this at the point in the chapter when this is your first time meeting Dumbledore.
Mhm.
But and actually Harry alludes to this later on in the series.
Mhm.
I don't think for one second Dumbledore thinks that his letter is going to illuminate all the different plot points and
Mhm.
important things that are going on with Harry to the Dursleys. In fact, I think that Dumbledore knows that if anything, it's more likely to piss the
Yeah.
Dursleys off. And I think that part of I mean, there's a strong magical reason why Dumbledore leaves Harry with the Dursleys. But I think also Dumbledore is recognizing that Harry's not going to grow up in the way that he could, and be very um, and be ruined before Dumbledore really gets to have a level
Mhm.
of influence over him.
Mhm.
And while I don't think that Dumbledore was condemning Harry to the childhood that he ultimately suffers for 10 years, I think that Dumbledore knows that when Harry does return to him, that Dumbledore will be able to have the level of influence
He'll
over
be able to
him
mold them.
that he wants and needs to have in order to accomplish this greater plan, right? And I think that you learn later on in the backstory of Tom Riddle, not to go too far ahead, but why we can credit Dumbledore with that much foresight, because Dumbledore was a firsthand witness of Tom Riddle's upbringing and the influence that was able to be imposed upon him when he by the time he got to school. So I think that Harry is really Dumbledore's second crack at, hey, I have a really important student that's going to be coming through this school, and everything's got to be just right, and the
Mhm.
stakes are really, really high. So I think
Mhm.
that uh, Dumbledore's play, aside from just the magical component of why he needs Harry to be with the Dursleys, I think his play of being able to reserve his influence for later on in Harry's life and how
Mhm.
important it would be for Dumbledore to be able to connect and get through to Harry some important information. I think that's as much of part of the play of leaving Harry with the Dursleys as it is, um, as is the magical for the magical reasons that he leaves Harry with the Dursleys.
Mhm. When we introduced to Hagrid
Mm-hmm.
also as well, who arrives with Harry on a motorcycle. Another small little sprinkle there. When he pulls up, Hagrid mentions that he borrowed it, the
Mm-hmm.
bike, um, from Sirius Black.
My man.
No further mention for a substantial bit of time. We would say a couple books, right? Before we
Mm-hmm.
hear that name again. I think
Um, Third book we hear
third book,
Sirius
yeah. So
Black.
like a couple
So
big books
we
again.
miss a whole book,
A
but
whole
it's
book.
definitely
Yeah,
an example of a breadcrumb. Just
exactly.
boop, drop a
Yeah,
little
exactly.
breadcrumb. We get back to that.
But it's even, deeper in the third book. We really get to put it all together. But it's just,
Mm-hmm.
it,
And
it
even beyond that, the Sirius Black story is one that's it predates the series,
yeah,
and then we get to enter that story, uh, you
present
know,
day.
in the form of the series and how it all plays out. But laying the groundwork for Sirius Black is very, very significant to
Mhm.
a major part of the middle of the series. But also, it's important. It's important. The Sirius Black storyline and character arc is very important because I think that's the first time that, as a reader, we understand that Harry is making a decision for himself.
Mhm.
And while I think Dumbledore, this is what I was saying about the overall influence in the plays that Dumbledore makes, Dumbledore is allowing Harry to understand this and to work it out for himself. But Sirius is Harry's first, I think, choice where um he's choosing what to believe when
Mhm.
he could have easily he there was easily enough information for him to go either way
Yeah.
on what to believe and what to understand and what this real story was. And I think you just got to only you can decide what
Yeah.
it is and what it isn't,
Mhm.
and you got to decide to go with it or not go with it. And I think that's the importance of Sirius. So her laying that breadcrumb early on, Sirius Black. I mean, it's something you could read over a million times
Yeah.
and has no significance until later in the show. Like, oh wait,
I heard this name
I
before,
heard
but I
his
can't
name
remember
before. I can't
where.
remember why. Then you got to go pull the thread of where the name was from. And that's one of the things that's different about when the books came out to now. Because nowadays, if a show gets a thread
Mhm.
or if a show gets a theory,
Mhm.
it's worked over a million and a half
Pulling and
times.
pulling and pulling.
Reddit,
Yeah.
social media, and that's
Mhm.
something that we didn't really have when the books came out
Mhm.
because it was like you kind of like you got to fend for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you really want to spitball about this, you got to roll up on somebody
Who know?
who's as deep in the knowledge. And if
Mhm.
they're not, you just gotta wait. That's it. There's no,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things about good. If it's good, you'll wait. You
Mhm.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If it's good, you'll wait. There's so much little that's as good anymore, but that's
Mhm.
just an example of her work. She dropped that
Mhm.
breadcrumb on us. Oh, Sirius Black. We don't know who
Mhm.
that is. We don't know what that means. but then later on, it's like you get hit over the head. Sirius Black this, Sirius Black that, Sirius Black this. Little
Mhm.
did you know, you got him on page 10. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah. 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 Before we head out of here, we'll lightly touch into the last person that was mentioned, character we got introduced to in this first chapter, which was you know who. This is how gangsta. He has to be one of the coldest people I ever heard of in my life.
He's the ill shooter. He's the magical shooter. That's what we're gonna call him.
You
The
can't
magical
the
shooter.
magical shooter.
Because everybody was afraid of him.
He was so cold they wouldn't even say his name. You imagine? Do you know who? That's like calling somebody the boogeyman, which we do know a boogeyman.
Well, yeah, we do. But I'm just saying the way that you don't. I mean, it doesn't really seep in. McGonagall and Dumbledore have that exchange where Dumbledore is like, "You really should call him by his name."
Yeah.
And McGonagall's like, "It's easy for you to say, bro."
Yeah.
Like that's basically
Yeah,
what her response is.
exactly.
Like, you the only one he wasn't shooting at.
Exactly.
All of us, we did it got.
We're looking over our shoulder.
We looking over our shoulder. I'm walking around calling this man by his name. He looking for me. You
Mhm.
calling him by his name. He going the other way. You
Mhm.
could. I don't know about all of this,
Yeah.
Dumbledore. Like, and it's funny because throughout the series, um, everyone calls him you know who to start out. But then characters start to branch away from that, and they start to, and you start to see how they um start to uh find themselves
Mhm.
in saying the name Voldemort and being okay with, yo, he gonna come for me, I'm gonna come for him. Like, you get the
Mhm.
it's always a moment of like self realization for the character when they decide to.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, it's not he who must not be named, it's Voldemort. And Harry's one of the characters, and even in his moment, he's like, I'm saying his name, Dumbledore say his name, he coming for me. And this is before Harry really has the full story, but Harry on some level can feel it. Like this is it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Mhm.
And what am I running around talking about he who must not be named for?
Mhm.
And so it's interesting in the first part of the book because it's like he who must not be named.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Did I read that right? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And then McGonagall, and it's crazy because once you realize how powerful McGonagall actually
Yeah.
is as a witch, you're like,
She's elite. She's
even
elite.
for sure. Even McGonagall wasn't saying this Joker name, so he must have really been about that action.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And Dumbledore all cool with it.
Yeah.
You should really just say his name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But her rebuttal is very um poignant, but it is worth noting that McGonagall in that moment does start to say Voldemort.
Yeah.
She only after that in the series she uses "he who must not be named," but mostly as she's relating it to other people, where
Yes.
she wants them to understand
The gravity.
some information. She says, "Oh, he must not be named this or that or this or that," but she with Dumbledore, it's Voldemort.
This is his name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, another shout out to Dumbledore's swagginess and him just being like, for him, he knows the man,
Mhm.
whatever air quotes you want to insert there. He knows the man. So for it's like if you know somebody famous, but you really know him, you grew up
Yeah.
with him, it's like,
Exactly.
oh, that's insert random rapper's
Yeah.
name. It's like,
Mhm.
man, that's Todd. I don't,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
We're not doing this.
and that's the feeling you get from Dumbledore, that he definitely knows something that others don't,
Mhm.
and he's unbothered. That's really the feeling you're supposed to get from Dumbledore as it relates to a lot of things, but particularly as it relates to Voldemort. It's like, all right, bro, like been there, done that. I got Grindelwald up out the paint. You next. When you
Mhm.
decide to pull up, it's on and popping. What's up?
Yeah.
So I think that is it's important as a reader to know that at least Dumbledore is not so moved by the idea of this "he who must not be named" character, and that
Mhm.
gives him that what is the new, it's not a new word, it's an old word, the aura, that gives him the aura of,
Mhm.
this is the guy that we're paying attention to Dumbledore, even though he was in the chapter for a brief minute. Dumbledore is someone we gotta pay attention
Hmm. Hmm. Um, wrapping things up, who do you think won the first chapter? Who's a
to.
standout
One,
character?
I don't know if the standout character. I mean, like we said, Dumbledore definitely has a, a magical swagginess to him
Mm-hmm.
for sure. In that you don't know how important he is yet, but
Mm-hmm.
you recognize he's important
There's something there.
for the amount of page time that he has. You understand Dumbledore, this is someone who's important.
Yeah.
One by how McGonagall, and you don't really understand how important McGonagall is,
Mm-hmm.
but how McGonagall reacts to him. He's got the Deluminator, so
Mm-hmm.
he's given the first little hint of magic.
Yeah.
Um, but you understand that Dumbledore is an important figure. I think if won the chapter, I don't know if anyone would. I think Harry loses. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
I think
Harry's
this
the
is.
clear.
Uh,
He's a clear cut loser. All
I
he's the
think
people we feel person we feel bad
I
for.
think they definitely dropped him off for a bit. Like he it's
He
like
doing time.
yeah, it's like this was the chapter where this is like Harry, all right, you got to step in for your bid. It's time to
Yeah.
sit down. So I
Hmm.
definitely think if you I don't know about
We
any
know a
winners,
loser. We
but
know a loser.
Harry definitely lost this chapter because he gets a little bit of a messed up raw deal that had nothing to do with him.
Hmm.
Particularly when you juxtapose it to the childhood he could have had with almost any other magical
Hmm.
family. It's like, hold up, you
Hmm.
left me with these jokers, and I done got rid of the he who must not be named for y'all.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Yeah.
So definitely Harry caught an L on this one. I don't know if anybody won. If I had to say anybody won, it'd probably be Dumbledore, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I mean, if I were to say not necessarily a winner, but I thought that the Dursleys made a significant impact in the first chapter, in a sense of like, I thought that there was more to them. I felt that there was going to be a lot more in the story for them at that point in regards to she made it clear there was a significance in regards to just how bad they were, but I wanted to know how, deep the layers were in regards to the Dursleys. So a bit,
oh
I wouldn't say the winners per se, but they intrigued me enough to the point where you're like, okay, where's this going with them? You know, do you think that this for a first chapter was more than enough? Do you think she gave too much information looking back at it?
no, this was definitely the breadcrumbs. This is the start of
The master class of
yeah.
crumbs.
This is just JK getting in her bag. She in the chef. She cooking it up. She letting you know, "Ooh, I'm gonna drop you this. I'm gonna drop you that. I'm gonna drop you this. I'm gonna drop you that." And it's all gonna come back.
Hmm.
You don't know when, but it's all coming back. So she give you a little bit of a lead. She give you a little bit of a, I'm gonna drop you this. I'm gonna drop you that. I'm gonna drop you this. Even one of the illest breadcrumbs is I don't want to miss. I'm gonna chat if you look it up. I think I'm right. Gideon Fortescue is one of the guys that Vernon bumps into, who's a wizard, and he tells
Yes.
him, you should be even Muggles should be
Yeah. Happy for this one.
happy on this day. I think he owns the ice cream shop um in Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
He always hooking Harry up.
Hmm.
But even that, as simple as that, is a
Yeah.
breadcrumb that
Yeah.
gets dropped. So this is Chef Rolling is in her bag,
Yeah.
and you definitely get the idea that this is where this is gonna go. So
Hmm.
I like the first chapter. The key thing to any opening chapter, if anything, just like any opening episode is, it should make you want to go to chapter two.
Yeah.
That's it. And you definitely want to go to chapter two. You
Yeah.
definitely got enough to be like, all right, let me see what's going on this next page.
Hmm. Yeah. For sure. For sure. All right. So we're gonna wrap this up. This is Morty and Ant with Seriously Black, and we will see you next episode.
Out.